okay? These are New Balance, I think. They don't make these anymore. But as well as having a good pair of shoes for when you're on a good. Can I get rid of that? Trying to get rid of that. I can't. Got it. Okay. So I don't know who you're seeing. You seeing me or you seeing somebody else?
You're all
seeing
good.
me okay?
Yep.
Okay, good. All right, so good pair of shoes, and get yourself a pair of mudders too. A lot of first-year people are not going to be on pro turf. So having shoes that are going to withstand some wet, soggy grass or muddy creases is really important. Hats. Standard hat. Black with white piping. May 1st hat. White. And these are going to be on sale. Summer hat or warm weather hat is mesh. All of these, by the way, are fitted. Okay, so you want to make sure you get the right size. Okay, you're talking about shirts. These are the 1 inch. And I understand there are a lot of guys that are going to be donating shirts. I've got 4 or 5 that I'm going to be putting into the pile, mostly extra large. But make sure you get a short sleeve. And a long sleeve. So having both is very important. Shorts. Some people will get cotton shorts. Some people will get those shorts that athletic trainers wear or whatever. I suggest you go to a golf shop. And you can get a nice pair of shorts that are permanent pressed. You don't have to be criticized by me if you're on the field because you got all sorts of wrinkled, ugly shorts. These are good. Belt. Very important, a belt. Okay. I got the web belt tight. It can be adjusted for various sizes as you go through the season. My favorite part of the uniform, I'm being very sarcastic now, are the socks. These are above the ankle black socks, okay? They're not crew socks. They're not hidden socks at the level of the shoe. They're above the ankle. They cover the ankle. If you get Nike, they'll even show you which one goes on the right foot and which one goes on the left. I usually bring along either a compression jersey or something like that for an undershirt. Oftentimes the shirts tend to be a little rough on the skin, or if it's a little chilly, something like this is nice. Jackets. I don't know what the standards are now. A lot of people are getting just a black jacket. If you get the reversible type, okay, stripe and black, okay, these handle rain pretty well. If there is a problem, you can spray them and get a little bit of extra waterproofing on them. Works very nicely. Okay, that's the top. This is my cold weather bag, or I should say adverse weather bag. During the early parts of the year, perhaps with the exception of current climate standards, I like the CLOA watch cap. It's nice, it fits over the ears well, it doesn't fall out. And that's for sale. I suggest a couple of different pairs of gloves. These are a little heavier, with nice tight fitting gloves because you're going to have a whistle over them. Sometimes a golf glove, the winter golf gloves are nice. I usually carry a couple extra watch caps with me for my fellow partners if they don't have a watch cap, so we can all kind of look uniform. I take them home and wash them, so guys don't worry about lice or anything that might get affected. Wet weather. CLOA rain gear. Very nice. The pants. With pants like this, the reindeer pants, they don't have belt loops. What I suggest is you have them put on. Because you're still going to have to use a belt, and the belt's going to have to hold up things. So make sure you try to include that. This is the CLOA rain jacket. It's comfortable, it's not too long. Okay. You can have your timer and your flags underneath it, and still works really well. If need be, you tuck it in. Regular long pants are good for cool weather when it's not raining. I often recommend you bring along a pair of long johns too, just in case. And if you wear these, this is static guard. It's where you girls, where your slips don't, mess up with your dress. Same thing with these. Spray it on the bottom, and they keep nice and loose. That's pretty much it for gear. I do suggest that you have a turtleneck if possible for under your long sleeve shirt, when the weather's cold. Flags. I got 2 sets. One is well used. Okay. But they're nice and weighted. You're going to have the opportunity to buy some, I think, at the clinic. They also come with a heavier weighted one. I recommended first year guys don't use these because when you throw them up in the air, if they come down on your head, they're going to hurt. And we've all done it, guys. So, okay. My little bag of tricks here. Scorecard. These are nice scorecards. The problem with them is, after a while, they get to be a very smooth surface. So it's difficult to write on them. So this is the trick I picked up from Mike Infantino. Take some athletic tape, put it on both sides. You can still kind of see through it. You can put the scores or whatever you need down on the card. Make sure you carry a couple of nice pencils. They have the kind that have enclosure and you can put it in your pocket. I prefer using a golf pencil. Easier, fits right in your pocket. Ox 40 whistle. Okay, very nice. Gets everybody's attention. Tape measure. I have one that clips right on my belt, so I'm balanced. I've got the tape measure on one side. And I've got the timer on the other. And it looks like 2 gun here, Very nice. And I have a whistle on a lanyard, little lanyard, clips onto your shirt. You can use it for face-off. And you drop it, pop it in your pocket if you want. I tend to like to take my finger whistle off and use it that way, but other people like this one. And you don't want to forget the coin. How many times have you gone out in the field to do a coin flip and you say, oh, I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 10. You don't have the coin. That's the basic stuff. I also carry ankle brace. Yeah, I've got a knee brace in here. I've got an elbow brace in here. That's your timer. That's about it for my bag, with one exception. This is my other bag that I bring, so I actually bring along 3 bags. This one here contains at least 34 knee and ankle braces that I've used over almost 50 years. So if anybody needs a knee or ankle brace, I'm more than happy to lend it. Any questions about equipment?
Did you mention flags?
Yeah, I did, Andy, as a matter of fact.
Sorry, I missed it.
I said the used flag and the new flag.
And as Bruce says too, I really like the way he does this, because as you continue your officiating journey, you're gonna start altering your gear in a good way, right? To that same point is that some people will open up the flags and take them out. Some people, as Bruce said, put belt loops on and things like that. We all have kind of our ways. I know Bernard and I talked about, he likes putting an extra piece of paper in because he needs to put a report into a small Ziploc, right? And keys. One of the tricks that I learned, instead I was always the gas cap official for my keys, right? Is you start bringing your key fobs and small things like that. So you're not bringing a bag. I used to bring a small bag, and then it was always the game where it was more heated. Now you got to run back to the table, right? Or things you don't want to do. All these small things we'll continue to bring up, like we said, the cadre throughout this training session, to throw little tips in like this. And again, this is the goal of this. We're going to do more tip based, right? Still teach you the rule side, but all these small things matter. And even I always say Ted Murphy was one of mine. I'd always bring baby powder, right? And always bring an ace bandage and band-aids. You will always cut your finger on the most benign thing in the world about 30 seconds before you go onto the field. You will always somehow get a blister as you are changing your socks from work, right? And things like that. So it's little simple things that you can put in your car and put in your bag, right? In a nice Tupperware, and seal it so it's not rolling around your car. And those things will just make your life 1,000 times easier as you continue forward. And those are the tricks you pick up throughout the years.
I knew I forgot one thing, Rob, and that is
You're good.
the Tupperware thing with the extra batteries, with the sewing kit, with an extra lanyard. These are the CLOA and a pencil sharp. Always bring a pencil sharp. Yeah, that's it for me.
Excellent. So we will thank you again, Bruce, for that. I'm going to give you a round of applause, even though people are on mute. We're going to give you a round.
Every year from Bruce, and it's always great to listen to Bruce.
I am so glad we finally recorded this. I'm seeing it. Like, we're going to still have Bruce do it every year, but I'm glad we have it now. Other people can see it. The one other really good one I always cite too, besides the extra pencils and everything, a small screwdriver, depending on how your timer works, and a backup battery. Ed Akel bailed me out one time and was able to pick up. They were only sold, those 823s are only sold at Walmart now, and so he was on his way. And the same thing, because your beeper dies. Right. And if you don't test it beforehand, along with, again, opening it, for mine is a very small Phillips screwdriver. So having that in that Tupperware is a lifesaver to be able to change your battery. Or again, when you're in the parking lot testing that, you can swap it out pretty quickly.
It's in the bag.
Excellent. And Steve, go ahead.
I was just going to say, a roll of tape. Black tape probably better. You never know. Sometimes your timer could break, so you need to tape it to your belt. Or make it more secure on your belt, depending on how it's formatted. Also, double-sided tape can be used if you need to put a patch on.
As a former, I know we have at least one. I know John was a Foxbowl. Is if you're a hockey player, you will always have hockey tape and paper towels in your car at all times. So again, good things along with extra Gatorades and snack bars and things like that, because again, work happens, and we say we want to try to get there 30 minutes before high school game. Sometimes it's 5, sometimes it's 2, right? We don't plan for that, but that's how it works. So those small things all kind of matter. Excellent. So, and we'll do, again, so we'll kind of go through the agenda a little bit. So part of we kind of got a 3-part activity. So part 1 was Bruce. We'll move to that one right now. We're going to go over rule 1, 2, and 3. They're always lumped together. They're kind of the easier ones to go over because they're pretty objective, to be honest with you. We'll mix in 2 different activities for that. The goal is to get out of here by 8:25. Sound good for everybody? So we'll keep it moving. And I do have, just give me a thumbs up. We do have slide decks showing at this point. Cool. The one thing that drives me still crazy with Zoom, it doesn't, when you do full screen PowerPoints, it doesn't give you a little area of where you're going. Anywho, we're going to turn this into a group conversation, but we're going to have we're going to give you about 30 to 60 seconds. If you have a note, write it down. If not, in your head, we'll go one by one for the participants. If you would explain lacrosse to your grandmother or yourself, if you don't know what lacrosse is, and some of you said I have no experience, and that's fine. But if we were explaining to a your 95-year-old grandmother. So as simple as possible, as bulleted as possible, right? We talk slowly when we talk to our elders in a good way, and we use simple language. That's what I'm looking for of what is lacrosse. So I'll give you 30 to 60 seconds about quiet time here. I'll stop talking, but if you had explained what lacrosse was in its essence, what is it? All right. I'm going to go reverse on my participants list, mix it up a bit. Terrence, you're up first. What's your quick one sentence?
It's okay. Can everyone hear me?
Yep, you were good.
All right. I would have been telling my grandmother that it's a cross between soccer, hockey, and those would be the two sports with a little bit of not football, but kind of football because you're wearing a helmet and all that stuff.
Okay. Grandma doesn't know what hockey, soccer, or football is. We're in trouble.
Oh,
Kevin Swenson,
yeah.
help them out. They're 95. They have no idea. Kevin, help us out. What do you got?
I'd say it's a 10-on-10 game that you pass the ball using things similar to fishing nets, I guess.
Okay, excellent.
They don't know what soccer and hockey is. I don't really know.
Excellent. Jump in, Evan, jump in and qualify that a little bit. What is the one thing we are missing here? We are spot on between the three of you.
You said Evan?
Yeah, go ahead, Evan.
Yeah, I just say it's the fastest game on 2 feet.
Wait, it's a game. Is it fast? Like it's always fast? Like it's done in like a minute, or is it done in 3 hours? Right? Like simple. We'll give Dom, throw me a bone here. How do we determine a winner?
I would explain it as it's a fast action sport with lots of running and contact.
Okay. I still don't have a winner. Dave French, give me a winner. How do I determine a winner? I'm grandma. How do I win this game? I'm going to crush you in checkers. I'm going to crush you in solitaire or Kim Rummy or whatever. How do we win the game of lacrosse?
Most points.
One team has to take the ball and score on the other team in their goal.
Awesome. We got it. The class got it, right? Super good, right? Is we want to, again, part of today's lesson, we want to strip everything, not bad answers, right? I'm picking on Terrence because he's a little bit more experienced in terms of sports officiating. He's going to be my guy all training sets, right? But we want to strip away all of the big stuff, right? Again, if we're explaining a penalty to a coach, let's just say it's Coach Sanino over here, right? He got to move, I guess in a good way, to the assistant coaching is way more fun than head coaching. You'd say at least stress level, right? But again, if you're not happy, I don't need a 40-word explanation, right? Of coach, your player out of control, hit him in the head, it's a penalty. We're done. There's nothing else to explain, right? If I say, well, coach, he started taking an angle, which was 32 degrees versus 34 degrees. And I mean, from my point of view versus your perspective, you lost me, right? I already lost the argument before it started. So in the actual Rule 1-1 of our high school rule book, and we're again working on getting you copies, but if we look in the college book as well, that's available online, we have all of these. And so again, we have a longer explanation, but we got all the key elements, right? It's a game, number one. So meaning there's a winner, there's some rules, there's some physical activity, right? There's two teams, we have to score, the ball has to enter the goal, and we have a winner. That's it, right? Grandma should understand that. It's the same if I said basketball, two teams, there's a score, there's a winner, the ball has to enter a hoop. We're good. Same as soccer, it's a big net versus a 6x6, right? Hockey, instead of a 4x6, it's a 6x6. Same idea, right? And then in football, they just have to go and touch the color parts of the field, right? It's a good way to say that, right? Our end zones are kind of the non-green area, and we'll go high school. We won't go into the crazy field colors and stuff like that, right? But again, kind of simple. So our beginning kind of exercise, right? The key is to keep it as simple as possible. So what do rules do? I totally stole this from Dr. Hinchy. And so we say 3 things, right, is what the rules will do. And so this is really good area to take a note if you are a note type of person. 3 things. I tweaked them a little bit, Dr. Hinchy, so don't yell at me too much. We're within the ballpark, right? And so, and this was off of memory. I totally should have asked you. But so I always say, to his point, we define, we restrict, or we prohibit in our 3 types of rules, right? So no matter what, in rule 1 through 3, it's a lot of definitions. We then talk about what restrictions, what you kind of can't do versus do, right? And then prohibit, especially when we get to penalties, we can't assault an official. We can't run on the field as a coach. We can't use iPads to challenge coaches, officials. That was an NCAA quiz that came out today. Bern and I looked at it. Doesn't happen often, right? Or if you are a LA Lakers fan, you can't bring a camera onto the court and point to it and say, you missed a call, right? Like those are prohibitions, right? So those 3 items are what we'll do. And so we'll have that in our scope. What we are going to do now then is, again, stay simple. If it takes you more than 4 words to explain it, if it takes you more than 3 words to explain it, it's probably not the great answer, right? Doesn't mean it's the wrong answer, but we're looking for super simple. So I'm going to throw you in breakout rooms. It's going to take me a half second, but I'm going to assign them. I'm going to also hopefully throw you with a cadre member as well. You'll have at least one in there. Going to give you until we have 7:27. So we're going to come back at 7:33, and you'll see a 60-second warning for the breakout room pop on your screen. Tell me what you need to play a game. And if you want to use lacrosse, great, but what do we need to play a game? Again, stay vague. If we're checkers, what do we need? If we're lacrosse, what do we need to play that game? What are all the different pieces that need to go to a location for that game to exist? Sound good on that? I'm keeping it vague on purpose because there's a point to all of this, I promise. You're looking at me like this guy's crazy. All right, we're gonna do 5 quick ones. We're gonna do just assign it right now. That ended up working perfectly. And there we go. Should pop up on your screen.
Hey Rob, I lost my breakout room.
Ooh, somebody just talked to me.
Yeah, it was Brooks.
Hey, yeah.
I lost my breakout room for some reason. They
All
said they couldn't
good.
hear me, and I tried to take it off my AirPods, and then the thing like froze, and I went bye-bye. So I was with Andy and someone named Dave.
No problem. That should pop up.
Yep, I'm back. Okay, thank you.
Sweet. No problem.
I got a smart group, Rob. They figured it out.
Oh, you got the 2 all-stars, didn't you? I didn't even, this
Yeah.
was 100% randomized, but I see you literally got 2 of the all-stars.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Made it easy for me tonight.
Yep.
All right, I think everybody's back, coming on in. Perfect, perfect, perfect.
Nicely done.
All right, so let's give me 3 to 5 items from each group. So let's start, Dr. Hinchy has named his group the All-Americans. So the All-American Group 5, you can go first. So Nessa and Terrence, give me 3 or 5 total items from your group, please.
Okay. We need a goalie plus 9 other players.
Okay,
Do you want to? Oh, well, let's say equipped goalies, equipped
Okay.
players, rather. A field, officials,
okay, you get 1 more item.
what else is- a ball.
Okay, all right, I like it. Let's go to, that's good, Burn-in. So either Kevin or Max.
You need a lined field.
Okay,
um, cones on the corners and marking the box.
yeah,
And you need a table with if you don't have a scoreboard, just with the scorebook and keeping the time.
awesome. Let's go to, that's our 3, so let's go to Dick's group. Evan or Calvin, please.
We came together and we talked about that we need a set of rules to
Yeah.
abide by. We need officials, and then we need players.
Excellent. We'll go to Bruce's group, Devin or Dom.
We said that you need time and a way to keep the time. You need a way to keep score. And Dom, if you want to add 1 or 2 more.
Officials, I don't know if someone mentioned officials. We do need officials.
This is an easy, what else do we need, Dom?
And then different uniforms.
Former life,
you know,
you were a.
Yeah, differentiate the 2 teams. So whether they need pennies or 2 sets of
Uniforms, and we need a person by rule who's in charge of said people in the uniforms.
Coaches.
Yeah, got it.
The other thing, Rob, we named our team the Bolsheviks, just to.
Bolsheviks, excellent,
Yeah.
excellent. Yeah, Bernard's group's gonna be the bourgeoisie, so that's still. All right, and then we have Andy's group. If you guys got a cool name, feel free. Brooks or Dave.
I can go. So you have to have 2 teams playing, and the refs constitute a 3rd team. Rules, ball, proper equipment, field, and nets, and I guess goalies too, if you want to consider that. You have to have goalies to play. So
awesome, we got nets in there. So what I do, big old list, right? We don't need to write them all down, but we super nailed this one, right? Again, we stayed simple, right? Think of all the things that we didn't mention, right? And think of, and the point of, I'm going to take them away on purpose so you're not reading them, right? But think of all of those things I just listed up there is not even close to exhaustive. And think about when you go to officiate, that's kind of like the rule book, right? We could come up with 120 different items that you need for a game. Do we need to remember every single one perfectly? No, right? Do we need to know most of them? Yeah. Collectively between 2 people, should we know almost all of them? Of course, right? We're human, we're gonna forget a couple. The key, as I say, to officiating, and I use Dave DiMartino, who was one of our cadre as well. I always use his saying is we wanna get the whales and not the minnows. There's different ways of saying that, but I think that's a great expression. We wanna get the really big items and not sweat the small stuff. The small stuff will matter at times, right? Especially as we continue to climb the ladder. It doesn't mean that freshman, youth, or JV games are unimportant. I'm not saying that. But again, if we only have 6 cones instead of 7, we play the game at a JV level, right? On a varsity, we maybe spend a little bit more time saying, coach, go find me another cone, right? And making sure somebody's on that, right? So to kind of go over that list again, as you're becoming a new official, or if you have more experience, we can escalate this obviously, but as we're becoming a new official, is don't sweat all this small stuff, right? Look for the big stuff. You guys hit it. We need a field, right? That should be, is we're going to a game, we should have a field. Is it lined? Is a big thing. In all of my games and all of my years, there was one time, and this is the same story I just told. We did Bruce Backus and I did an all-star game at Marvelwood, and I'll never forget. There was no lines on the field because it was a grass field next to a duck pond. And I remember Bruce, it was like my first year in Connecticut. He goes, "We're counting out 53 paces." Okay, right? And he said, "This is where it is." They then brought out, believe it or not, the paint can 10 minutes before the game. They line the field, right? To the best of their ability to make it happen. But generally speaking, we play on turf, right? Or grass, we have it lined, but look for the big stuff. We need benches, right? We need at least a bench area. We need a table area. We went over that, right? Table area by rule is very important, right? We have some administrative stuff we'll go over. Any kind of, I go bleachers or spectator area, especially in youth, we separate the playing and the coaching area from the youth side, or excuse me, the spectator side. We put the spectators on the, we don't want a parent next to their kid, right? And so those things, again, think safety of things, right? Is that if you see a soccer goal exactly on the end line, let's move that soccer goal back, right? Those are common sense things, regardless of their experience. We can look at and say, man, I think that rusty bench, 3/4 on the field is it's a bad idea, right? You can look at it and say, somebody's going to get hurt regardless what happens, right? And again, simple things for us is, do we have parking? Do we have restrooms? Do we want to identify that? If we're an older official or if we're a younger official, we don't know that, ask your partner. Hey, I'm running from work. The game starts at 3:45. I get out at 3:15. There's 30 minutes for me to drive. I'm going to need a restroom and I might need to change. Where do I go? Conserve those minutes, right? Talk in advance, simple things. On the equipment side, we're going to go over that in much more depth. It's got just a couple items, right? To look at. Things like maintenance are important. As an official, it's your job to generally look at the larger risks, right? If the net doesn't look proper, say something to one of the coaches, or if there's admin, right? Especially when we get to varsity games, there's going to be some kind of site coordinator at a lot of games. Talk to the scorers, talk to the timers, who's got a book, right? It's simple stuff. We worked a game this year and it was brand new person, right? It's always an injured player gets to do the book because they don't have a designated scorekeeper. Some schools do, and we'll kind of get into that later, right? And then it was, they have the book and they're like, we're ready to go. And I remember my partner said, do you have a pen? And they looked at us like we were crazy, right? They're like, why do I need a pencil or a pen? You have paper. You need to be able to mark that paper, right? And again, we're dealing with 14, 15, 16, 17-year-olds, right? Be kind, be nice, assist them, right? Again, on the people, I think we went over all of those. I'll kind of keep moving. And then those things are everything else, right? The rules, the time, we set it perfectly, right? And timers, we need some kind of apparatus to do that, a scoreboard or a watch. Think safety as well. Identify where the trainer is, right? For yourself and others around you. Think W9s too. Is it sometimes good? Bruce, the one thing I think we missed is some people like to put copies of W9s in their bag. I have it preloaded on my phone because now a lot of different ADs like it by email. So that way you can send it right away off your phone right there because we want to get you paid. Right, it's kind of the goal, some of the goal here as well. And again, that knowledge, that attitude, the expectations are those small things. Makes
Bob,
sense on that one. Go ahead, John.
You want to tell them what a W9 is?
Yeah, W9 is, I'm sure John will correct me on the exact thing, but it is a working 9 form according to the IRS, and essentially allows you to be an independent contractor for a employer. So meaning a school district or a private school. So in order, you need to then send it. Most of you have probably seen it at some point, but essentially it's your name, your address, your social security. If you're an individual, you check that box, then you sign and date it. It's a 1-page paper, usually comes with 3 pages of explanation because it is a federal government form and has more explanation than it does meat and potatoes. And you can hand that singular form to the AD, and it needs to be within their fiscal year. Most schools' fiscal year run July to June. So it means if you've done one in the fall, if you're a football or a volleyball or a swimming official, you don't need to repeat one, right? And then if you haven't, you need to send one to each school and only once per year. And usually that's the biggest holdup of getting paid, is they don't have a W-9 on file, or it's out of date, or it's not dated correctly, or it's missing a piece of information. Good on that one, John? Thank you, sir. That's why I need him in my life. All right, so a little bit of lecture, but I'm going to move kind of quick so we can get to the other activities. And again, this is on purpose, a little bit of a gloss over, right? As we talk, and these fun things will do their animations as we go. US Lacrosse got something right in their animations. So again, what is the game? We said 2 teams, 10 players, right? Terrence's group, and then another group said it. We said an equipped goalie. I think Dave, you had said it as well. We need an equipped goalie on the field at all times by rule. We'll explain what that means. And then we need 9 other field players. We'll get into where they stand and why in a second and go through the details. Again, 2 teams of 10. We need 10 to start the game. That's the big fish, right? We need 10. They can go under that in certain scenarios. We'll spend more time on that later. We need goals. The rule book goes through. I have not seen, this is an obtruse angle goal that's actually featured, believe it or not. I've seen maybe one of those. And again, all my time, most are very triangular as versus this little jut out coming out right here. Both are illegal though, is the key. Then we need to play with a ball. This is where, again, the big fish, it needs to have what is called a NOXI mark. NOXI is an independent third party who not only does testing, but approves and stamps the manufacturer of different items and equipment in multiple sports, whether it be helmets, the ball, or now we have a big one in lacrosse, the chest pads for something called comio cordis, which is when if you're hit with an object, a high velocity object, it catches you in between heartbeats, your heart can stop. So by trying to prevent that, they now have special equipment and an additional piece of plastic to guard right over the center of your chest and where your heart sits, a little bit to the left, obviously. So we need to have that NOXI mark on our balls. And by rule, we're allowed to have 4 different colors. We start with white as the standard. And if the conditions, and if we have enough of them, is that if the coaches agree, we can play with a different color ball. We see that very rarely. Generally speaking, if we ever play an indoor game, if you played in Trumbull indoor or been there at some points, it is all white walls. It is very difficult to see a white ball flying at you. So they will play with a color ball or in a snow game as well. We also see some programs, because they have combined budgets, the women's game and the girls game plays with yellow balls. So sometimes you will see that just based on budget and needs. The team has yellow versus white. As long as the coaches agree by rule, we can use all 3 of those colors. But white, 99 out of 100 games or all 100 games in your season will be played with a white ball. Check it before the game. The one that you have for the first face-off should say NOXI. Sound good? Again, a general overview of this. We'll talk more in depth, and I really encourage you, if you didn't get to watch Tim Bodan's video from our Texas Lacrosse Officials Association, did a phenomenal job explaining kind of the slang as well and the different lingo, which helps. And again, if you're new with the game, is we need to kind of move into understanding what some of those terms are. But generally speaking, we're going to have an entire field, right? Within that field, we have 2 halves. Everything between these lines, there's a lot going on, but it's called our midfield. And again, we're going to have then attacking zones or offensive zones, right? This is listed as defensive, so I'm going to then highlight this one, depending on which team you're at, right? We have different reasons and different things that can occur in those zones. As we continue throughout our training, we'll get more in depth. And it's, again, if we think common sense, if there are, generally speaking, when fouls or restarts occur, right? One team gets the ball versus another team. If you're on offense, you don't get to start next to the goal. You got to come back, right? Think kind of yard games or schoolyard games, right? It's the same thing in basketball. We're playing pickup. You don't get to start under the hoop if we redo the play, right? You come outside and you have to then go in. So again, kind of think some common sense items. We will work through that as well. And then we have the big ones as we continue talking. The end line is the out of bounds behind the net. And then we have sidelines. Those are the big ones we kind of want you to learn today. Don't get overly overwhelmed, right? I'm using that on purpose of all the little things going on. Is I don't want you taking a tape measure out and doing exactly 6 yards. If it's a turf field and it's lined, it is what it is, and we move on. That's a small fish. We're not going to concern ourselves on the minnows, right? But if we see that a field, and you should know pretty much ahead of time. If field's 60 yards versus, our 110, we got issues, right? We got issues before we get to the game. We should know that. And again, if they're a grass field, do not take a tape measure out. You're going to invite Bruce Backus, who's going to count your 53 paces across, right? But your key is you're going to, within reason, if it makes sense, right? So this is our general layout. We'll continue going. In some scenarios, I've only seen it in the youth game. I don't believe anybody has unified outside of Amistad is the only one I'm familiar with here in New Haven, Amistad Academy. Everybody else has a standard field, which is up top. They now permit through the rule books, again, if you were to put in a turf field, the girls and the boys game have different dimensions. They are allowed to combine the dimensions together. So what it actually means is that on the unified field, it is simply 120 versus 110, and then they mimic off of that in the offensive areas. Those are the larger, the midfield is the same, as you can see on the side-by-side. You are allowed to play on that. Very rarely, and like I said, in the youth game, you see that more because again, they're public parks on grass. They want to line one time. Everybody can play. They don't have to use different fields. The Salt Marsh in Madison is a great example of that. They have 6 fields all unified, if that makes sense. So they can just go back and forth and everybody can play and they can rotate. And they also have soccer lines on some of them. So it's literally just public use all day. Don't have to send maintenance. Make sense on those? Quick ones, and again, I'm going to kind of move through these, is we have the crosse, French word for stick. That's where we get lacrosse, the stick. That is your history lesson for the day, and I'm not going further, and I'm not going in French either. Is my see me embarrassed? I won't. We have 2 different crosses, right? There is what is called a field cross, or a player or a midfielder or an attack cross. That is the smaller one, 40 to 42 inches. Is your dimensions of length, and then you have what is called a long pole or a defensive stick. There's also something called, and we'll get into that, a long stick midfielder. There's allowed 4 of them maximum in our games. On the youth level, I won't go through. There's different, as you kind of go down, they limit the amount of long crosses, and they have this middle kind of stick as well that's used because again, if somebody is only 5 feet tall, they shouldn't be playing with a 6-foot stick, right? On youth, doesn't make a lot of sense. You will see some high schoolers who are smart and cut their stick if they're shorter, right? Especially freshmen and sophomores as well, which is fine. We are then at, remind me, I know 72s are long. John, what is our short for a long stick? What's my range?
40 to 42. Is that what you were asking?
What the long pole was it? 52?
52 to
72. Okay.
And don't forget the goalie cross.
Yeah, and then the goalie cross can essentially be anything in between in between that, right? And John, give me the exact specs. I know it was just on the quiz.
40 to 72 for the length on the goalie cross.
40 to 72. Most goalies have a middle 50-inch or so. It's not 6 feet tall because again, they need to be able to turn it, and they don't like short ones. They like an extra bit of amount. So again, you can make a save and swing your stick. The bigger ones, we'll get into equipment inspections. I believe we're doing that one next week, and how we do those. I'm going to throw a video for the homework on it too. And so essentially, they have these things called shooting strings. We have a pocket, and then we have the head. And the head itself has a scoop, a sidewall, and a throat. So it's kind of just anatomy of a head. So again, a pocket, these shooting strings, also called nylons up top, if they're made out of nylon versus a shoelace or a hockey lace. And again, everything needs to be within 4 inches of the top. And then across is our 6-inch as well at the widest point. Additionally, these 2 items, that's why they're here. This is a ball stop. It'll go on the bottom. You're allowed 1 of them. You're not required to have one. You also now need a manufactured, that's got a lot of different terms, but a manufactured butt end on your stick as well. We don't see them anymore, but back in, I'll call them the golden years of the 70s and 80s and 90s, people used to take bottle caps and put them together and then tape them. And the problem was the bottle caps would come out and they would cut people, which is horrifically dangerous. We don't see that very often. They need some kind of manufactured end. They now make just plastic caps that fit on the inside. Those are legal. Rubber ones, they cannot just have tape. Again, a hollow piece of metal is a danger. Right? So think common sense and safety for everything we're doing. Both of these, again, a ball stop is not legal to have. If a player does not have this, it's not a penalty. It's what we call a fixable or repairable offense. Go off the field, go find one. You can't come back until you find one. Make sense on those? My 2-year-old Jalen, don't mind her if you can hear her. I don't know if you can. Equipment wise, again, just going to do a gloss over here on purpose. Is we're going to continue to reinforce these ideas. But if you are a player, which is on this left side, think simple. By rule, we need cleats. We don't see metal cleats anymore. They're generally not even manufactured, but we see some type of cleats or shoes. Again, we're not going to go fishing for minnows. If it is a old AstroTurf and they wear sneakers, they need some type of shoe. They need gloves. They need elbow pads. They need a shoulder pads. Some shoulder pads might have, I'm drawing the blanks on the names, your rib protectors, a helmet, a mouthpiece, and you now need a protective cup. We spend no time going through that area because that turns into a lot of jokes and seriousness. And in a future week, we're gonna have Andy talk about table professionalism as well. He does a really good job on that one. Again, these are required equipment. We don't do mandatory checks on the cup piece. We don't make mention to it. We don't joke about it. Where there is a professional, we're also adult refereeing minors. Make sense on that one? That's how I go through those. And the same thing. Again, they need a helmet. They're generally going to be equipped. We're going to do an activity on if they're not. But again, we're not hunting them out, right? Did you cut your mouthpiece? Or if you're a hockey fan or you're Matt Kachuk and you're wearing it outside during warmups, right? When you see a player in front of you, especially if it's a dead ball, the ball is not in play, and you see something, fix it. Right? Tell them to fix it. You don't have to physically do it, but if you see something awry, just be like, we're not starting until that's fixed, right? Common sense and safety, especially at the lower levels, we want kids safe. That's our number one goal. Everybody needs to go home, including us, right? On the goalie side, a little bit different, as you see, same helmet. They're required to have what is called a throat guard or throat protector. There's different styles. Cascade is the most popular, so it'll look something like this. Might also be clear. They still need a mouthpiece. They need gloves. Their gloves are often a little bit larger, which is okay. They need a chest protector. They need shoes. They need a protective cup, and they need a goalie stick versus a player stick. A little bit different dimensions. With both of these, the chest protector and the shoulder pads, these are now Comio Cordis NOXI certified. It's a lot of words really quickly. Comio Cordis is the condition that occurs when somebody heart stop. And then it's NOXI, which is the same as the ball. We do this through the coach's certification. We will walk you through that. We ask every head coach before the game, to the best of your abilities, every player equipped by rule. They say yes. That then takes all of the risk and liability off the officials. We have done our job. We don't go searching for marks in shoulder pads. Make sense? Questions on that one? Couple more, we'll get interactive. I know this is the boring, we're kind of moving through, slogging through some of the stuff. As we said, the pelvic protector has come in along with the Comio Cordis. The uniforms, I've never called a uniform violation in my entire career. And I'm not saying that there isn't ones, but again, these are the minnows section. I think there's one more slide on this. Same thing, if a number is supposed to be 4 inches instead of 3 3/4, I'm probably not going to be your partner if that we're making those calls in a nice way, right? Is you don't need to do that. You need to look at, to what Dom said, something to differentiate. Do we have a dark color and a light color, right? Can we make sense? Do we have 2 oranges, right? Generally speaking, players are allowed to have 2 numbers. They can't be on the field at the same time. Use your discretion. If it is a JV game and that poor kid, I love this example, Dr. Hinchy uses it all the time. If it's a JV kid, it's the away team, and you see they only have a penny instead of a jersey. That kid is having a horrible day before you even get to talk to him. Realize the scenario. They forgot their jersey. They might have crap going on at home or in school, right? They just forgot. The alternative is they don't get to play in a game. That's not fair. You can say, usually the coach brings it to your attention. You will say it's okay. You tell the other coach, hey, number 14 has a penny instead of a jersey. It's dark color. Everything's good. Coach, you're good too, right? Right? And you can be suggestive a little bit in that, right? We want that kid to participate and play. If it is a state final, it's a different scenario, right? But again, use the best of your ability to do that. Same thing as we said, if a player again has 2 numbers, they'll tape a number 1, right, to be the second digit. That player is now 18. We all get that, right? Is play the game. It's not material. Same thing. Again, there's a general rule of all sweatpants need to be the same color, all undergarments. Use your best judgment, right? If it's freezing, raining, and one person has gray and another person has heather gray, we're not making a call, right? If they're crazy tie-dye or it's the exact same color of the other team, we might ask them, coach, does that player have another pair of sweats someplace on the bench that they can borrow, right? To be more team-oriented. Again, use your common sense, use your judgment. Within this, I won't go through, I haven't seen visors. If any of the cadre have addition, you're allowed to have sunglasses if you have a prescription. Generally, we know we had a goalie in North Haven have this, and the coach tells you usually ahead of time. We cannot have tinted visors. We cannot have glasses and a visor. You're allowed a clear visor if it is a medical prescribed device, and all medical devices are allowed, or religious jewelry are allowed. Good. Again, same to almost every other sport. Again, the numbers I move. Same thing, anything football or not lacrosse related, as you know, Terrence explained to grandma what 3 other sports were. And I'm just kidding, right? But again, we shouldn't have football helmets. We don't have hockey goalie pads, right? Is you need lacrosse equipment. And then this is any electronic device cannot be associated within there. Again, we're not chasing. If a coach looks at his text message, we're not chasing them. Sound good? If they look at their phone, they're good. If they are literally watching a live stream of you and then going just like our LA Lakers, right, and pointing to stuff, much different story. And again, allowed anything religious or medical, especially as an identification within medical. Quick Q&A before we move to a different activity. Good? We'll keep it moving. See a couple head nods. I'll take that. So we have a lot of game personnel. And we're going to go through them. I thought I had my activity up. Give me half a second. If we can throw the screen. And so, thought we had, I'm going to totally scroll on you real quick. Okay, we're going to do it at the end. Going to move 4 more minutes of talking. I apologize. I thought I had my activity mixed in the middle. Very simple, moving through these, right? Our game personnel, these are our different ones. We'll go through them just in slides. Don't overly complicate the titles of officials. In almost every game you will be doing this year, it is a 2-man crew. When we move to preparatory or that private school sector, we go to 3-man. Within that bracket as well, you might run what's called a 3rd game, a freshman game, or a JV game. Those are sometimes also 2-man. So don't overly complicate 3-man mechanics. 3-man makes it a little bit easier because we have kind of a 3rd official and a 3rd set of eyes. So you'll have a referee and an umpire. The referee is in charge, or the crew chief, the white hat, if you will, if we're football, right? They are kind of in charge. They're also the senior person. It doesn't mean that you're unequal in calls or anything like that. They're just there to help you out, is the way I always view it. They're there to take care of you and take care of the crew because they have more experience, and that's fine. They do have slightly different duties in terms of some administrative. That's about it. We always have a timekeeper. Again, think logically of depending on where you're going and when you're going, it might be a 14-year-old, it might be an 18-year-old, it might be a parent, it might be a professional timekeeper. You'll range the gamut, and that's okay. You need to talk to them professionally. You need to make sure they know what they're doing. You don't need to quiz them, right? But you need to just remind them of certain things the same way you do your partner, right? We're playing 12-minute stop time on the whistle, right? In a horn scenario of what happens, right? And that's a administrative error. If the clock goes out, you remind them of penalty time. We're going to count down the last 10 seconds. We will go through again all of these different items, right? But our timekeeper is one of, if not the most important outside of our team, who's also part of our team, right? And again, by rule, they're an objective person. I've had issues before. They are not a fan. They are not a parent. They are not an administrator. They are part of our team, right? Again, if they go, yay, after a goal, we're not going to scream at them, right? But if they're screaming, that's a terrible call. No, very different scenario, right? Is you need to report the penalty. I'm just telling you some objective facts right now. You need to write it down. We need to move on, right? So again, they're part of our team. Same as the scorekeeper. The home team needs at least one. The away team should have one. But again, know your scenario. If it's a freshman game, you're probably not going to have any scorekeeper. So we need to use our cards a little bit more because some of the freshman teams, you're playing 10 on 10 and that's it. Or you're playing 11 on 10, right? Get the game, get the experience, move on. In the players, again, just those YouTube videos explain it, but we have defensemen, we have midfielders attack. Midfielders will play both defense and offense. Then we have a goalkeeper on the field. We have other terms called FOGO or face off get off or an LSM, a long stick midfielder. That's that fourth pole that we have on the field. We have head coaches. The simple way of saying it, we should talk to all coaches, right? But there's a very different line to an assistant coach where you can draw very quickly if you feel they are not coming in good faith, if that makes sense. Head coach, always a constant communication, good or bad. Assistant coaches, only in good, if that makes sense. And again, you're going to reap what you sow. I've even experienced that too. If I come off a little salty, you're going to get a salty reaction, right? So you need to really sometimes, and Andy said this last meeting, sometimes you need to rely on your partner to walk you off the ledge immediately, right? Of Rob, go over there, go to the far side of the field. Let me do the talking, right? Just decrease the scenario. We also have this thing called an in-home. For the sake of this and overloading you, we're not going to talk about it now. We'll go through that. We also have captains, and you might have ball retrievers. Very, very rarely. They have to be fully equipped. They're usually younger kids. They can't be behind the end line, behind the goal. Think safety. If that makes sense. On the sideline, they might retrieve and restock. We'll talk those. Quick questions on any of those? I want to move to the activities. So we got some time on this one. Good. That was the boring section. I apologize. We got to get some info out of there. I know. So what we're going to do, if you want to jot these really quickly or pick two of them as your group, be my guest. But essentially, we're going to go through these officials. As an official, what is my goal and what on earth do I do when this scenario happens? We got 6 scenarios. So pick 2 as a group or write 2 down, and you can discuss any in your group. I don't care. We're going to send you back to your breakout rooms in about 30 seconds here, but we have a broken goalie stick. Note the word goalie. A player stays down after a hit. I'm being vague on purpose. There is a collision. One player is still on the floor. What do we do? A coach runs onto the field. My personal favorite. The scoreboard goes out or there's lightning, either one. The wingman on the face-off, that's the non-face-off player who's still within the face-off play since the 3-on-3, does not have a mouthpiece in and it's sitting stuck inside of the top of his helmet. Or you notice a player during the play doesn't have their chin strap buckled. What do we do? The correct answer is panic in all 6 situations, by the way. No? Okay. I'm going to send you your breakout rooms. And I'll see, I'm going to give you about 2. We're going to come back about 8:08, 8:09. And Manny, welcome. We'll throw you in group 5. Everyone went to the wire on that one, huh? I
Right
like
on.
straight to the wire. All right, let's do, you may pick anyone you want. We'll go reverse order. Andy's amazings. Let's start with you. So either Brooks or Dave.
Can you hear me?
Yes, you're good.
Okay. We actually had a little bit of a conflict in agreement on the rule with respect to a goalie and a broken stick. There was one perspective where a goalie with a broken stick outside of the crease is actually considered a field player, and then there is no issue. But if the goalie is inside the crease, then it would be you would stop play because the goalie is not properly equipped by rule. And then there was another point of view that didn't agree with that and thought if the goalie has a broken stick, the goalie has a broken stick.
Okay, the hockey rule, right? Vernon, can I throw to you? If a goalie in the NFHS rule books breaks the stick, what happens?
Depends whether he's in the crease or not. So you guys had it right. In the crease, kill it. Outside the crease, let play continue, provided he's not actively participating in play in a way where it is a dangerous situation.
Right, so it's a little bit, so we're common sense and safety. Safety will prevail, right? And so if they're out of the crease, they break, kind of too bad. If they lose a piece of mandatory equipment, we have a little bit of a different story, right? If they lose a helmet, we're killing the play, right? And that's generally speaking any player on the field. If, again, we think it's a safety, I always say we're going to err on the side of caution, right? Of what happens. Again, if it's something like a broken stick for a field player, different story. If they're in the crease, why do we kill it immediately no matter what?
Dangerous play because he's not fully equipped and somebody could be shooting at him.
Yeah, this ball moves, right? Even in high schools, 50 at the minimum miles per hour for some of the guys, up to 80, 90, 100 miles per hour, right? This is a very dangerous scenario. We don't want them not having the ability to catch the ball, right? They're crazy to be in there in the first place. That is a very different story, right? Within goalies, but we need to be safe. Awesome. Let us go to the Bolsheviks. Devin or Dom, you guys are up next.
1 minute.
Oh,
I'm
go ahead,
sorry.
Kevin. Yeah,
And I'm just trying to figure this out since I really don't know lacrosse here. In the crease, and I'm thinking, meaning in the net area. Am I wrong or right?
You are correct. If I can, your screen is going to flash. I apologize for doing that. So our crease area is within this net. 9 foot diameter, or excuse me, 9 foot radius from the goal line. So that circle is reserved for the goalie. No offensive player may go in there. The defensive player may pass through, but may not act as a goalie at any point in time. There's only one goalie on the field. Goalie gets this crease area, no offense. Defensive players may pass through, but may not act as a goalie.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're super good clarification on that. And so again, we don't want the offensive player having the ball going to shoot. A goalie is missing a piece of equipment, including their stick. Dangerous scenario. If it happens, if the goalie is allowed to run down here, if they're down here and they break their stick, we have a little bit of different scenario. They're not getting shot at imminently. Sound good on that one? All right, we'll head over to the Bolsheviks, please. Anyone you'd like, and I'm gonna move through these real quick.
So we had, sorry,
Yeah,
Dom.
Devin.
Okay, so we had a pretty good discussion on the player stays down after a hit. So we kind of came to the conclusion that there is no single right answer. It's really like situationally dependent. So like we use the example of like a defenseman goes down and is injured. What you would do would change based on like whether the attackman had the ball on his stick or if the ball was loose and on the ground, whether the defenseman like posed any or was in like a dangerous area or posed any danger to any of the other players. Kind of stuff like that you have to take into consideration before you blow a play dead.
Yeah, excellent answer, right? Is we use this term imminent scoring. That's a very discretionary and subjective on purpose way of saying it. If the ball, I always say, within about 1 Mississippi, max 2 Mississippi of going in the net. That doesn't mean they're 110 yards down the field and they can chuck it. They're within X amount of yards in your discretion that that ball can go in, right? There's a good chance that within the time you can bring your whistle to your mouth, that they may score on that play. We generally will continue. If a player is in a dangerous scenario, right, or the ball is very outside that scoring area, we might blow it immediately. The other caveat that comes to this, and you'll see this especially in higher up games, we will sometimes wait until the possession is gained. So we don't need to go to this thing called alternate possession, which is essentially a coin flip. We see it in basketball, right? Is that we want to give it to whoever's entitled to the ball gets to keep the ball when we restart the play, right? So we might wait a second. Again, it's your discretion. If you feel they need immediate medical attention, we want to do that, right? If a player suddenly drops for no reason, the player's a very large hit and goes down, might be different as versus a player pulls up lane because they appear to be dehydrated, right? We're not medical officials. We're not making that determination, but we can generally assume based on our sports experience, what looks a little bit more severe, less is a little bit minor, right? We're not judging. We're still going to give them a whistle. We're still going to get them attention, but we want to use some subjective safety and common sense. Let's go to Dick's defenseman. So that is Evan or Kelvin.
It's Dick's post game.
Dick's post-game tavern retreat / informal meeting of trainers and a cadre.
Right. Go ahead, Evan or Kelvin.
Yeah, I can go on this. So basically we talked about if the scoreboard went out, and we came to the conclusion, we ran through a couple scenarios, whether there's lightning or a whole power grid power outage, but we decided to settle on whether the scoreboard went out. And what would happen is we would just stop play, go over to the table, and they would have the central time, and we continue the game from there.
In the event there's lightning, what do we do?
30 minutes, everyone goes inside. If lightning strikes again, every 30 minutes. So every time it strikes, you refresh the 30 minutes.
Excellent. And in the event if a scoreboard cannot be put back on, they have no way to time or anything else, what would we do? This is advanced knowledge, but we can go through it.
Call the game.
We call it and we suspend the game. So the game is not canceled. So we write everything down we can, right? Then we report to Dave Leet, who's our assigner. The game can be replayed. There's a certain set of scenarios where the coaches or the admin might agree that that game is final. That's not our decision, but we pass all that information along, right? For the point of suspension, similar to lightning, right? In some scenarios, some fields don't have lights still, right? So if lightning occurs and it gets too dark, we need to suspend the game, right? In a playoffs, we will always finish that, but in a regular season, we might conclude the game, especially if it's a lopsided score or if usually I think it's half, John, right? If we get into quarter 3, we're allowed to then decide. I know he's going to write quarter 3, generally speaking, is it? But again, that's not up to us to kind of decide that. We're going to kind of go through. So yeah, so if there's any scenario, go to the table, be calm, be professional, right? Act like you know what you're doing, even if you don't, right? Go over there, just be like, hey, this is what we're going to do. Everyone's going to take a giant deep breath. We're going to get all this fit, right? Because sometimes it takes 5 or 10 minutes, and that's okay. Let us move on to the burden. What do we call it? The bourgeoisie. Excellent. Kevin or Max? He's fancy. His group is very fancy.
We talked about if Wingman has his mouthpiece on top of his helmet instead of in his mouth, because you're still lining up for the face-off. You can just tell the kid to put it in, and then just don't let the face-off happen until he puts it in. And we talked about how if you normally just give them that one warning, they'll do it the rest of the game. It shouldn't be an issue.
Exactly. I love that, right? We had a point in our game where everything was a penalty immediately, and it drove us nuts, right? That's not the point. The point is safety. Put it in, right? We were all 17-year-old idiots at one point. Some of us still are. The person talking, Dick said that his connection was unstable last night, and so is the presenter, right? Is that sometimes we're just humans, and that's okay, right? Remind them. Our point is not to be an authoritarian. You don't have to be buddy either, right? But tell them to get it in. If it's the 15th time, you know it's a delay game. That's a different story. But use your common sense, right? And tell them, please put it in. Ask nicely too, and you usually get good results, right? Awesome. And then we're going to go to the Steve's All-Americans. So either Manny, Nesta, or Terrence.
For the discussion about coaching, coaches running out on the field during gameplay, we said that our first option is to just give him a warning. We don't have to stop the game, keep the game going. If it's a dead ball, we can always go and speak to the coach about it. But if the game is in play, we can just kind of direct the coach to get off the court. Coach, hey, can you step back, stay in your coaching area? Sort of that.
Yeah, I think spot on, right? My first is always sometimes if they like run at you, you just tell them keep running to the parking lot, right? Like just blow right by me and just keep going right to the parking lot because you're not part of the game anymore, right? We don't want to get to that point, right? That is if a very aggressive, not a good scenario. We've unfortunately seen that in games before, right? But to your point, especially basketball is very much more like this, right? It is a small space. There's not a big coaching area. Coaches will come out. Same thing in our game. We will see them creep onto the field sometimes. We want to remind them the best we can. Coach is back again, right? It's a lot of sugar, not a lot of vinegar, right? In these scenarios of you can go over super nice, even when you pass, right? Especially if you're the behind or trail official. Hey, coaches, please. And they already know what you're saying, right? Of coach, just mind the box for me, right? Or coach, I just need one step from you. I always like that one, right? Is you ask for one step, I really need 6 steps for you to even get range of being okay, right? But coach, just one step for me. Or just, hey, quick reminder. To your point, dead ball is a great time to do this too. Hey, coach, just friendly reminder back here, right? Sometimes you got to get a little bit more aggressive to that of over, or coach again, right? And then we have tools. Again, we'll go through in another week. We have tools to address this if it gets out of hand, right? But we want to de-escalate, be courteous, professional. It's also safety for us and other players. The worst thing is that when somebody's not paying attention, you run into somebody standing still, right? In any sport, is that something's not there that you're supposed to, where you're backpedaling and running and you get clipped either. We don't need you injured. Awesome job on all those. For time's sake, we're going to move to our answers. We got them all, right? Broken goalie stick, immediate whistle if we're in the crease. If we're outside of the crease, not, right? But player stays down, we can call officials time, right? We're going to tap our shoulders, how to do that. We're going to save our all of our different things. That's going to be our homework to go through our signals in a mirror this week. And we're going to go through a couple next week. So we're going to all play a different role. Again, on the coaches, and again, you can ask for a trainer. This is a little kind of hotspot. If you ask for different people, when you get to higher levels, they don't want you making assumptions. So you might say, coach, you can attend your player. I still yell trainer personally on it because some trainers are also taught, especially in football, you have to give them an okay to come on the field. So we see trainers that do different sports. They have that mentality of I can't come on. So I still use it, right? And again, if you then identified who the trainer, maybe got a name pregame, you can say trainer, right? Or the same thing. Hey, Dick, I need you out here, right? Or maybe take a look, right? Again, the least case scenario, just identify the coach, your player might need some assistance, right? But I think a verbal kind of helps in this scenario, right? Again, judge the severity. If the player pulls up, like I said, with the cramp, and then is hopping off, right? Maybe we don't say anything if it's near the bench area. If it's far side, that player took an awkward hit, is down, maybe we call somebody over, right? Again, we're going to tweet. We'll talk about our whistles and everything kind of next week, but gives you an idea. Same thing, approaching the bench, we nailed it. If the score goes out, we want to seek shelter, including ourselves if it's lightning, right? Don't spend too much time in the area. We have 6-foot metal poles by us. Out of all seriousness, right? Is we literally have lightning rods surrounding us. We want those players in. The other smart thing you'll see coaches, leave your sticks where they are, get to safety, get to shelter. It's generally identified. Again, if there's lightning within the area, you generally know the forecast site admin is also telling you. Same thing in helmet, just get it right. We just want the play to be right before it happens, right? If you see something that's not egregious, it's not, they forgot it, it's stuck on top, right? It's like the glasses on top of your head, which I do all the time. Remind them their glasses are on top. Your coffee mug is on top of your car. Do that every day, right? Get it, put it in your car, keep it moving. Same thing in terms of a buckle is undone. If it's a non-scoring imminent, same thing. Blow your whistle, have them adjust it. It's safety. It's a 4-point buckle. They need to be done correctly for safety reasons, right? Is if it's not affecting the play and it came off of a result or before the play. The last part of this too, generally speaking, do not touch the players ever, including to assist that. In some scenarios, if you see somebody really struggling and you buckle 1-2, I'm also okay. I've been guilty of doing that. I'm also okay. Some players take the officials take the approach. I cannot help you. I cannot touch you. I cannot be liable for doing that. Either one is okay in my opinion. It's your comfortability to that. I'm a little bit okay. I rather make sure I hear that click sometimes, especially if it's a younger player, to be honest with you. I do it a little bit more often, right? If it's a 7 or 8-year-old as versus, right, a 17, 18-year-old who can do it on their own, if that makes sense. But generally speaking, don't touch them. If you feel comfortable not touching them at all, fine. If you feel comfortable doing that, that's on you. Make sense? For time's sake, since we're at 8:25, we're gonna jump. I will send the timing stuff. We'll hit it real quick. We play 12-minute quarters. They are stop time. There's a scenario that we go running called a mercy rule. We will go through that next week. These will be your homeworks to practice these. There's a whole bunch of fun ones. What I would like to get to, if we're okay, we're gonna move through. We'll explain mercy. I promise we'll do all that. Overtime's written on your scorecard. So if anybody doesn't know it, it's your fault for not being able to read your scorecard. We'll go through it. It's literally on your scorecard. All right. Want to do 2 of these real quick, get us out on time. This should load for us. This was our homework. We're going to go through it and then I'll open it up. I'll talk over as we start. If we have sound, great. I'll kind of lower because the sound is just fun music, right? We're going to watch this player right here. It's going to move across, take a shot. The shot is deflected. The ball will eventually go out of bounds. I got 2 questions. We're going to watch it one more time. Two questions for you. First one, whose ball it is? Whose ball is it?
Looks like it's blue ball.
Yeah, or dark, black, blue, fine. I'm not, I
yeah.
promise I'm not picking on you for that whatsoever. Yeah, whatever color ball, right? We even say it sometimes, like if it's orange, some guys call it red because it's less syllables, whatever, that ball. Go and stay in with the offense, right? And why, Dom? What did you see?
Defender was the last to touch it.
Yeah, right. So think again, common sense, general safety, right? As well is that we saw it. Great. There's no safety issue with it. Common sense, just like any other sport, you're the last one to touch it, goes to the other team. It's your ball now, right? So we stay there. Second question, where should the official be and what should they do when the ball goes out of bounds?
He should be at the end line, correct? And blows whistle, raise his hand, dead ball.
I'll break up your answers into 2. We should blow the whistle. The number one thing new officials do not do, according to Rob Hollop. You do not blow your whistles and it drives me up a wall. In every scenario, we always see the ball goes out of bounds and you look at it. Then you look at your partner, then you look back at the ball, and then you look at your partner some more, and then you go, why is everybody looking at me? You go, blow your whistle, right? If the ball goes out of bounds, we blow our whistle, right? Number 1, perfect. Second one, is it capable for that official to run 10 yards in a second? No, right? That's very, very, very tough. What is the official doing though? Very important here. And we'll play it one more time on it. The shot is taken. It takes him a second to figure out where the ball is. It's deflected. What does the official do?
He's staying on top of the play. He's getting a good angle so he can have a vision on it.
Right? So when the ball goes out and the official, they cut it off right here. He now blows his whistle. We put his arm up, tweet, tweet. Where is the official? 5 yards closer to the ball, right? It's all about perception. He got and ran in. You'll see this even in the college game. There's a shot. The official carries to the end line. I had a game in college, same thing. Coach is screaming. Coach didn't see it. It was a fast break. I was probably 10 yards behind the ball. The ball went out on the far side. Magically, in the video, I'm standing on the end line. Coach, I got a perfect view. I'm right on the end line. Yeah, you are. I wasn't there 14 seconds ago, right? When I blew the whistle, right? But again, it's perception. It's a little bit of extra hustle that goes a ton of a way, right? Because when they look at you now, where's this official? Coach, I saw the whole play. Everything was in front of me. If you're standing up here, very different scenario, right? Make sense on that one? We'll skip this one. I like this one. I found this one. If this loads, we're going to do this. And we'll end on this one once it loads. Perfect. All right, so this is a Massachusetts state playoff from a number of years ago. What'd you have? What'd we have? What happened? What's the scenario? Take me through. What do you think the game scenario is? How much time do you think is left in the game? You already know the answer without me telling you the answer.
No time.
I was gonna say, even you can look at the name of the video. Is it the first goal of the game or the first play of the game or the last play of the game?
Last play.
It's close to the last play. What do you think the score is?
Tied.
Either tied. Blue is down by 1 in the scenario, right? We already know it, right? What is it a tense game or is it an easygoing game? And how do we tell? What do we hear if I'm sharing audio?
No audio,
It's a-
but you can see that.
No,
It's a
right,
playoff. It's a
right? You can
playoff game.
hear, right? They kind of swing it back this way real quick. I apologize for no audio, but if we swing it back here, all these guys super tense, right? As soon as the coach is bent over, you know something's going on, right? Coach is into it, they're yelling. You can see the defenseman is not having a good day, right? We can tell the vibe, right? Whereas we kind of go back to here. From what I see in this clip, and I watched it a whole bunch of times, I think this is a 3-man game. It might be a 2-man, and I'm not trying to downplay any of the officials, but are we in a good position as an official to see the goal? I say yes.
Yes.
I say phenomenal, right? Because he's behind the goal, can see it, everything in front of him. His partner, and again, I don't want to spend a ton of time, but we're just going to go back. His partner can be a little bit closer. As if this is a 3-man, he's back. It leads me to believe it might be 2-man, a little bit closer to help out. Can that trail official, if he sees the ball go in the net, call that a goal?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
What go back to and this is the whole point of this video. What is the goal of the game by rule? To determine a what? With 10 players in a game, to determine a what? A winner. And how do we win the game? By scoring what?
Goal.
Go.
So what's the most important call that we have the entire time we're on the field as officials?
Go.
We have to get the goals right, right? So if you're a trail and you see it, because again, can he be screened? Absolutely. How quick does this ball go in? We'll do it live time. Goal or no goal?
Oh.
You want that? Now I'm screaming at you, right, Terrence?
Yeah. Oh my God.
That's how sports work. As Dr. Hentry always says, this is a dynamic sport. It is very tough to officiate because nothing is perfect. There's context in every call we make, right? And this matters. Can we maybe run in a little bit after that shot? Be able to sell it? The ball falls, last part, I promise. The ball rolls out, gives you an indication, hit the back in super slow-mo. I did it 15 times. It is a fact in the net. Doesn't hit metal or plastic, doesn't bounce out. Goalie also throws his head in the air like he let in a goal, right?
Yep.
Body language helps you in this scenario. We can't call it a goal off of body language, but we have a good validation, right? The other team picks it up. This kid is super cranked up, ready to go, right? And you can see all these things. Again, the last part of this, does he sell this call? You super confident in anything that guy's call? And again, I'm not poking fun at him, right? But if you, right? If you, and again, that's the reset kind of mindset. But if you come in, right? And again, not by rule, we can do it. But if it's a playoff game, I have been prone in that scenario, give a washout, right? Give a washout. That in all sports, we understand what a washout is, even though it's not in the game of lacrosse, right? No, right? And that's going to sell you a call if you truly feel it didn't go in, right? But kind of half walking up, and then this guy's going to scream at him, is my favorite, right? Oh, excuse me, I'm just going to mosey on by it. Like, sprint out of there, right? Like, get to the sideline, move out. So again, goals are important. Context is important. Safety and common sense, right? Make yourself look good. Make your partners look good. We're not going to see everything perfectly, but sell it, right? Is the big key. The point of the game is to determine a winner, and we have to do our best to do everything we can to give everybody a fair shot at that win. Sound good on all that? I shall send safety and common sense. get the whales, not the minnows. Listen to your cadre. We're kind of smart. We're not phenomenally smart, but we're kind of smart, right? Listen to our stories, take notes, all that good stuff. I'll send a recap out. I apologize for going over 5 minutes, but I'll send a recap out tomorrow. Come out, same thing as a PDF. We'll have some homework in there. You didn't get a chance. We'll keep the same cadre member, new official. Reach out to your cadre member. Talk to them about the video and the homework. Use a mirror for your homework, videotape, or do it in front of your partner, spouse, anybody who lives in the same dwelling as you. It helps, right? Make your signals. That's what we're going to go over on our mechanic side. Sound good?
Yep.
Questions, bad jokes, comments?
Thank you.
We'll see you on Monday.
All right.
Thank you, Rob.
Have a good
Thanks,
one.
Rob.
Thank you very much, Rob. Thanks.
Hey, Rob, hang a second.
Let me stop.